virtual ground concept. So this concept is used in all the applications, whatever we will be discussing in the further topics. So this virtual ground concept is with respect to the non-inverting terminal of the op amp. Let me take an example of the op amp. So this is plus VCC, this is minus VEE, and we have two terminals, minus, plus. So minus is inverting, plus is non-inverting, and we are having positive terminal which is grounded. And here I have given the inverting terminal to the power supply. So let us indicate this power supply as V, and other terminal is grounded. So because of this power supply, we are having current I, and this resistance is Ri. The voltage across this resistance will be Vi, since it is connected across the input voltage supply. Between the output and input, in order to reduce the gain, in order to compensate the gain requirement based upon the application. For some application, we might require lesser gains. For some application, we need more gain. But actually, the op amp, according to the practical conditions, the gain is 2 into 10 to the power of 5. That much of gain is not necessary for all the type of applications. So, in order to reduce or in order to adjust that gain, we are going to use one feedback resistance which is connected between the output and the input terminal. So input terminal means the inverting terminal where we are giving the voltage supply. So the point where the input supply and the feedback is going to meet, that point I'll call it as G, virtual ground. And the voltage which is there across this one is I'll call it as V1. I'll call it as V1, and this is V2. See here, when you look into this circuit diagram, you can see that the voltage is connected here, and this is the node which we are having. Here, when a voltage is being connected and when you are trying to measure the voltage across this node, it will be showing the same voltage what the non-inverting terminal is having. As of now, the non-inverting terminal is grounded, so V2 will be considered as 0 volt. So at this time, even though you are giving the voltage to the inverting terminal, the voltage across this node, which is V1, that will be equal to 0. Now let us take one more example where I'm going to make this inverting terminal as grounded, and I'm going to give input to the non-inverting terminal. So when I'm going to do that, see, this is grounded, this is given with voltage, and this is ground. Now V2 is having some voltage. Now it is not 0 volt, it is having some voltage which is been given. But when you consider this terminal, it is grounded. So grounded in the sense the voltage, effective voltage given here is 0. But when you measure the voltage across this point, this voltage will be equal to the same voltage what the V2 is having, that is non-inverting terminal is having. Here instead of being at 0, it will be equal to V2. Suppose V2 is 5 volts, this ground will also, this G, this node is also will be showing, node will also be showing 5 volts. So from this, what we understand is this node is exactly following the non-inverting terminal. If non-inverting terminal is grounded, then it acts as ground. So this node is called as virtual ground. Even though you are giving some voltage here and you are making it ground, and here you are directly connecting this non-inverting terminal to ground. When you measure here, instead of replicating this voltage over here, it is going to show the same voltage what the non-inverting terminal is having. So non-inverting terminal is grounded, so this will also behave as ground. grounded. Since it is not physically connected, but virtually it behaves as a as if it is connected. So that's why this node is known as the virtual ground, VG. Okay, virtual means which you cannot see. Here there is no connection between these two, but this node is going to follow the voltage whatever it is varying in the non-inverting terminal. Whatever it is varying in the non-inverting terminal, the same voltage is getting replicated over this ground. That's why it is called virtual ground. So this you have to remember. Okay, so just remember like this: whatever the non-inverting terminal is having voltage, the same voltage will be replicated on this node irrespective of the voltage given in this terminal. Whatever you might give the input, but it will be just following this voltage. This cannot be physically proved. Physically proved means you cannot show it directly. See, this is how it is connected. That you cannot do. But when you measure it through a voltmeter or using any measuring instrument, it will be showing that voltage. And it behaves as virtually it is getting connected. As I told, it cannot be proved mathematically, but it can be proved it cannot be proved physically, but it can be proved mathematically. It cannot be proved physically, but it can be proved mathematically. How we will prove this? For that, we are having an equation V0 is equal to A into V2 minus V1. So here, if okay, we'll take V2 minus V1 is equal to V0 by A. Since A is the open loop gain of an op amp, and we know that standard value is 2 into 10 to the power of 5. So V0 divided by 2 into 10 to the power of 5 we are having. Just think, for any reason, can this V0 be made greater than 2 into 10 to the power of 5? By any reason or by any method? Can the output voltage become greater than 2 lakh? Can it be 2 lakh volt? Output voltage, can it become 2 lakh volt?
No, sir.
No, right? At least half. Can it be? Half of it? Instead of 2 lakh, 1 lakh?
No, sir.
50,000, 10,000? Is it possible? Is it possible to have 50,000 volt at the output? It is not at all possible. So, can I consider this as infinite value? Because it is very, very high. What is the value of infinity? What is the value of infinity? How you are going to
1
tell?
by infinity is 0.
Right. It is 0. Because infinity is equal to 1 by 0. So if you shift that, it becomes 0. So V2 minus V1 is equal to 0. This implies V2 is equal to V1. See, we mathematically proved that these two voltages, V1 is the voltage across this node, V2 is the voltage across this non-inverting terminal. Mathematically, they are equal, but physically, they are not connected. But even though it is not physically connected, it behaves as connected. That is, virtually it gets connected. See, virtually in the sense, see, we tell, yes, my mobile is connected to Wi-Fi. Do you have an wire which is connected to Wi-Fi there? From your mobile to the Wi-Fi, are you connecting any wire?
No, sir.
No, right? But we tell it is connected. That is virtual connection. That connection you cannot see, but you can just experience it. You'll come to know, yes, it is connected. My mobile is connected. Yes, my mobile is connected to Airtel network, Jio network. There is no wire which is getting connected with your mobile to the tower, the base station of the Airtel or Jio or BSNL or anything. But still we tell, yes, my mobile is connected because we can experience it. So that is the virtual connection. The same way here also, it behaves as virtually connected. That's why we call it as virtual ground concept. The same concept is being used in the applications which we are going to discuss now. So these applications, whatever we are discussing now, these are very, very important. Based on these applications only, you will be having the problems. If you understand the applications and if you can derive the equations, you are ready for solving the problems. If you don't understand the derivations, then you cannot solve any problem, because in derivation we will try to understand the concept and methodology, but that formula what we derive in the derivation might be changing based upon different circuit. Instead of having two inputs, something is having four inputs, then automatically the method has to be modified for four inputs. But if you understand the method properly, then you can do it easily. But if you don't understand the method and if you're trying to just by heart the formulas, then it will not work out. Yes. Next is the applications of op-amp. So in the applications of op-amp, we are having numerous applications, many applications. Any device which we are electronic device which we are using today, without an op-amp, no device you can have. So that many number of applications you are having. Without IC, nothing is, no electronic circuits or electronic devices or electronic appliances are there. So your motherboard, it has an IC. You just name it, we have op-amp in it. So the applications of op-amp, few of the main applications which we are going to study here are, first one, the non-inverting amplifier. Non-inverting amplifier. The second one, inverting amplifier. Third one, summer. It is also known as adder. Fourth one, subtractor. Fifth one, voltage follower. Sixth one, integrator. Seventh one, differentiator. Eighth one, we have one more, which is comparator. Okay. For this and this, you don't have any derivations. It is very simple circuit, so we don't have any derivations for these two. But for rest of the applications, we are having derivations, and they are very important. Among that, integrator, differentiator, subtractor, summer. So among this, one is 100% you will be getting. 100% one you will be getting always. And non-inverting and inverting amplifiers we are having. Among this also we can get, because they are quite easy compared to others. And if you understand non-inverting, inverting amplifier only, then only you can derive summer or subtractor. See, there is a link between all. If you understand, these are the two basic type of amplifiers. If you understand these two basic amplifiers, the next amplifiers you can understand. But if you don't understand these basic amplifiers, next you cannot do anything. And also in the problems, sometimes they'll give combination of all, where some part of the circuit and you need to apply non-inverting amplifier concept. For some part we need to apply summer circuit, and so for the some part of the circuit you need to apply integrator, for some part you need to apply differentiator, like that. So there are a mixed kind of circuits that can be given in the problems. In the textbook I have given such type of problems, and whatever the problems I have given in the book, no, it's more than sufficient. You can just follow that. I have given all the types, so where the uh, multiple concepts are applied together, so that kind of problems will be usually asked. So let us start with the inverting amplifier. These are the different types of application. So before that, I'll just like to tell about what and all individually they are going to do. See, non-inverting amplifier, it is going to have the input across the non-inverting terminal. So the out, it is going to amplify the signal which is given at the non-inverting terminal, and the output will be amplified version of the input, and output signal and input signal will not have any phase difference. So they will not get inverted. If input is given like this, output will be amplified version, and it will not have any inversion. But in the inverting amplifier, you will give an input to the inverting terminal, and the output will be the amplified version, but along with that it will be reverse of it. So here you are having positive, here you will get negative. Coming to the summer, so summer, in the summer amplifier, it is going to take multiple inputs together, it is going to add, and it is going to amplify that and give the output. Subtractor, so what it is going to do is, it is going to take two inputs and it is going to subtract those inputs, and to the result of that it will add some gain and then it will give out. Coming to the voltage follower, as the name itself tells, voltage follower. So whatever the input you are giving, the same output it will be giving. So output follows the input. Here, this kind of amplifier, this kind of op amps are basically used to maintain a constant signal level. So you want to just maintain whatever the signal we are having now, that has to be retained until it reaches the destination. During that time, we use voltage follower. Either we don't want uh, the signal to get amplified or reduced, or we don't want even any gain to be added to the signal. So during that case, where you just want to maintain the actual signal till it reaches to the destination, will be using voltage follower, because it will be having unity gain. Unity gain means A will be equal to 1. So it is not going to add any extra gain. Whatever is present, the same thing is maintained. Next is integrator and differentiator. This is going to perform integration and differentiation operation on the given signal, such that a sinusoidal signal will be converted to a sawtooth waveform, or a triangle waveform will be converted to a square waveform, or square waveform will be converted to a ramp wave. Like that, one form of a signal can be converted to another form of a signal. So for that, we will be using integrator, differentiator. Mainly this integrators and differentiator, we have this application in medical field. So in the medical field, where we can observe the heart rate, which is displaying on the screen, the heart rate, or the whatever the ECG scanning, whatever they'll be doing, no, cardiography, all those things. So during in that this kind of ICs, that machines, this kind of ICs will be used, where it is going to capture the body signal and it is going to convert it into a readable format. So for that purpose, we need this integrator or differentiator. Next is comparator. So this comparator is basically used to compare any two given signal and tell which is greatest among them. Whether the signal which is given to the inverting terminal is greater, or the signal which is given to the non-inverting terminal is greater. To just compare that, we are going to use this comparator circuit. Okay, this is about the brief introduction about the application of the op amp. Now we'll start with inverting amplifier. So in the inverting amplifier, as you know, it is inverting. we are going to give the input to the which terminal we will be giving? To
Negative.
which negative terminal, right? So the negative terminal is known as inverting terminal. So this is the resistance, and here we are giving the input. Take it as Vi, and this is V2, which is grounded, and we are going to connect a feedback resistance. Can anyone tell me why we use feedback resistance? Why we use feedback resistance? I've already told. Yes,
To increase bandwidth.
increase bandwidth. Okay, then
To increase the gain.
okay. So to adjust the gain requirement. So usually the feedback whatever we are given is negative feedback, because we have given it to the inverting terminal. It is acting like a negative feedback. Here we are not going to increase the gain. Instead of that, we are going to control the gain which is provided by the op amp, because op amp alone provide 2 into 10 to the power of 5 gain, but we don't want that much amount of gain. So we have our own requirement. So that much amount of to have satisfy our requirement, we are going to connect this resistance, and from that we can tune the op amp based upon our requirement. We will understand once we derive the equation. We'll understand what is the formula for the gain, all those things. So now you can see that the input is like this and output is like this. For this, I have told something while introducing the op amp. I have told something what you call this kind of signals. They are in dash. If you are getting like this, we call something for the phase.
Out of phase.
Yes, very good. It's out of phase because they're having a phase difference of 180 degree. See, this is in positive, this is in negative. So they're having a phase difference of 180 degree. We call it as out of phase. Now, in the same way, if I have a signals like this is the input and this is the output. What you call this? The signals are dash.
In phase.
They are in phase because their phase difference, angle difference is 0. This is also positive, this is also positive, this is also negative, this is also negative. So phase difference is 0 degree. That's why 0 degree or 360 degree, because you know that 0 degree is equal to 360 degree. Okay. Now, so we have connected all the circuitry now. It's an inverting op amp. Now we will recall Kirchhoff current law. So what does Kirchhoff current law states? What does Kirchhoff current law states?
The algebraic sum of currents meeting at a junction is 0.
Okay, good. Any other? One more statement. Anyone remember?
The sum of currents entering the node equal to sum of currents leaving the node.
Yes, good. So Kirchhoff current law tells that sum of current entering the node. Here the node is V1. The sum of current entering the node is equal to sum of current leaving the node. What is the input impedance of an ideal op amp?
Infinity.
Infinity. Okay. So let us first understand what and all we need to consider. Now apply KCL to this. Let us take the current through R1 is I1 and the current through RF is I2. Now the current entering is I1. Can you tell me what will be the current leaving? Okay, I'll call this as IB1. Current leaving. Current entering to the node is I1. What will be the current leaving?
I2.
Only I2. Why not IB1? Why not IB1? I2 plus IB1. Why can't you consider IB1 also?
So since the input impedance is infinity.
Yes, good. Since the input impedance is infinity, no current can get in. Practically speaking, it will not be infinity, it will be some mega ohms, but still we ignore the current which is entering because for mega ohms of resistance, the current which is entering is negligible. It will be in terms of nano or microamperes. So we tell I1 is equal to I2. So according to the
Excuse me, sir.
yes, yeah.
Sir, can you repeat again, sir? I couldn't hear you.
See, when the current which is entering through the op amp is, even though ideally we tell it is going to offer infinite input impedance, because of that no current can enter to the inverting terminal. Practically speaking, it will be in terms of mega ohms, not in terms of infinity. It will be in terms of mega ohm, 10 mega ohm, 1 mega ohm, like that. During that time, small amount of current will be flowing to the inverting terminal, which will be in terms of microamps or nanoamps, nanoampere or microampere. But when you consider that current comparing with the input current, which is in terms of milliampere, it is negligible. So during that time also we consider the current entering is 0.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So for that case, we consider no current will enter the op amp. The entire current will flow through the feedback resistance. Now, I want to write the current in terms of voltage. For that, according to Ohm's law, we are having V by R. So where is the current I1 flowing? It is flowing from Vi to V1, right? And R1 is the resistance. So in order to find the voltage across R1, how do we find usually? How do you find the voltage across a resistance? General way. We take the potential difference, right? We take the potential difference across the two terminals of the resistor. What is the potential difference among these two? On the resistance R1? What is the potential difference across R1?
Vi
So
and
V1
V1.
minus Vi.
Yeah. So Vi minus V1, because these are the two voltages which we are having across the resistors. So Vi minus V1 divided by R1. So that is equal to I2. I2 is flowing from V1 to V0. So during that time, we take it is V1 minus V0 because RF is lying between two voltages V1 and V0. So V1 minus V0 by RF. From virtual ground concept. From virtual ground concept, what you will tell? From
V1 is equal to 0.
V1 is equal to V2, that is equal to 0. So the above equation becomes Vi minus 0 divided by R1 is equal to 0 minus V0 divided by Rf. So we will be getting Vi by R1 is equal to minus V0 by Rf. Always we need to write the equation for all the application in terms of output voltage. So when you rearrange this, we get V0 is equal to minus RF by R1 into Vi. So this is the equation. Our standard equation is output voltage is equal to gain into input voltage. So here, what is the input voltage among this? VA. So the remaining thing is RF by R1. Then what is this RF by R1? What does this RF by R1 gives?
Gain.
Just compare with gain, right? So gain, this is the gain. Then what does it negative sign indicates? See, negative sign indicates it is going to have 180-degree phase difference with respect to input. See, it doesn't mean negative sign here. It doesn't mean that gain is negative. Gain can never be negative. Negative sign indicates the output and input are having a 180-degree phase difference, or the output is the inverted form of input. Please remember, negative sign indicates that output and input are having a phase difference of 180-degree, or they are inversions of each other. It doesn't indicate gain as negative. Okay. Now, suppose if suppose what happens if RF and R1 are equal? What happens if RF and R1 are equal? How it will behave, or what it will do during that time? If both RF and R1 will be equal, so what it will be doing? When RF and R1 are equal, what happens?
So the gain will be 1, in which so the output voltage will be same as the input voltage, but it will be out of phase.
Yes, correct. Good. So V0 will be equal to minus Vi. So during that time, this op amp will not amplify anything. Instead of that, it is just going to invert and give the output. So it is not going to change anything. Just it is going to invert. It is not going to add any gain. Okay, that is about inverting amplifier. So next is the non-inverting amplifier. So in the non-inverting amplifier, as the name itself tells, non-inverting. So non-inverting means it is going to give the input to the non-inverting terminal, and the inverting terminal will be grounded. So plus VCC minus VEE we are having. So this is plus, this is minus. This is RF, IF, R1, I1, V0, so Vi. Okay. So here in this case, input is given to the non-inverting terminal and output will be collected. So the output will be the amplified version of the input. Here we don't have any phase difference. Again, we'll apply the KVL to this, and this is Vi and this is V1. Taking up. So now again, current entering is equal to current leaving. We are going to consider I1 is equal to I2. So we can take it as IF or I2 as you wish. I1 is equal to I2, and as no current will be flowing through this because it is offering high input impedance, so the entire current which is flowing here has to flow through this path only. It cannot enter this path. I1 is the current which is flowing between the ground to this. So these are all the conventional directions we are assuming. So we take 0 minus V1 divided by R1. The same way for I2 is flowing from V1 to this point. This point is V0. So V1 minus V0 divided by RF. Then again we will simplify it. V1 by RF minus V0 by RF. So we will take the V1 common. So V0 by RF is equal to V1 into 1 by RF plus 1 by R1. So V0 is equal to V1 or V1 into RF into 1 by RF plus 1 by R1. According to virtual ground concept, V1 will be equal to Vi. So we can replace this V1 by Vi. So this becomes Vi into, we'll take this RF inside. During that time it becomes 1 plus RF by R1. So that is your output voltage. So again, when you compare with the standard equation, this is our input and this is our gain. So the gain of non-inverting op-amp is given as 1 plus RF by R1. So this is the equation which we are going to use to find the gain of a non-inverting amplifier. Again here, if the RF and R1 are equal, so during that time the output will be twice the input. So we can just analyze. So how, by just properly varying RF and R1 or designing RF by R1, so you will be getting V0. See, if I'm going to choose RF as 30 kilo ohm, R1 as 10 kilo ohm. So can you tell me how much times V0 is going to amplify? How much times V0 is amplified version of Vi? If RF is considered to be 30 kilo ohm, R1 is considered to be 10 kilo ohm, can you tell me how many times the V0 is the amplified version of Vi?
4 times.
It is 4
Four
times. Yes, 30 by 10. So it is 3 plus 1, 4. So V0 will be 4 times the Vi. So this is how we are going to find the gain. Okay. So now the next application, inverting adder. So the inverting adder, as inverting, it indicates input will be given to the inverting terminal. Adder, that means there are multiple signals which we need to add. So we take the op amp and these multiple signals are getting connected together to the inverting terminal and the positive terminal is grounded. So this is V1, V2, V3. This one is R1, R2, R3. Okay. So current through this one is taken as I1, I2, and through this one is I3. So this point is known as, what do you call this point? Okay, let us not get confused. You can connect this point directly to this or this. So now tell me what you call this point as. What do you call this point? Node. Virtual ground, right? G, virtual ground. One more question. Is this node and this node are same or they are different? Can they be same?
Yes, sir.
Yes. See, they can be same. Because, okay, now what I'll do, suppose if I'm going to add some resistor here, during that time,
No, sir.
they are different node, right? So because between those two nodes, we don't have any other resistors, those two nodes will be the same. You can combine them. Okay, fine. Now again, we'll apply Kirchhoff current law. Current entering is equal to current leaving. So here, how many currents are entering the node? We are applying the KCL to node G. I1 is, tell me. I1 plus I2 plus I3 is equal to IF. So same method is same. And in the examinations and test, they can also give you derive an expression for 5 input inverting adder. What you will be doing during that time?
I2 plus I3 plus I4 plus I5.
Yes. You'll be having, instead of having 3 inputs, V1, V2, V3, you'll have 2 more, V4, V5. Suppose if there are derive an expression for 2 input inverting adder, then V1 plus V1 and V2. Only 2 inputs. So you should read the question and answer it properly. So if they are not giving anything, then you consider 3 or 2. It is left to you. So better it is 3. If you consider 3 inputs to derive, it's good. Now again I1. So I1 is between V1 and this point, because as I told, these 2 points can be combined, right? And what is the voltage across this? What's the voltage across this? Voltage across VG?
0.
0. Because of virtual ground concept. Since non-inverting terminal is grounded, the voltage across this will also be 0. VG will be equal to 0. So now I1, for I1 we'll write current I1 is flowing from V1 to this node. So that's why it is V1 minus VG divided by R1 plus, for I2, I2 is the current which is flowing in this branch. So it is starting from V2 and it is ending up with VG. So it is V2 minus VG divided by R2 plus V3 minus VG divided by R3. Similarly for this, that is equal to IF. IF is starting from G and it is flowing like this and it is ending at V0. So we write VG minus V0 divided by RF. So VG is 0. So this is 0, this is 0, this is also 0, and this is also 0. So we write V1 by R1 plus V2 by R2 plus V3 by R3 is equal to minus V0 by RF. So we want the equation in terms of V0. So we write V0 is equal to, we just multiply, cross multiply that RF. So RF into, so we'll take minus also this side, RF into V1 by R1 plus V2 by R2 plus V3 by R3. Now, this is the equation for the inverting adder where R1, R2, R3 are different. Suppose if R1, R2, R3 are different, then you stop it here. So usually R1 will be equal to R2 will be equal to R3. So if all the R values are same, then in this equation this becomes V0 is equal to minus RF by R into V1 plus V2 plus V3. Suppose if R1 is equal to R2 is equal to R3 is equal to RF is equal to R, what will happen during that time? What will happen to this?
Output voltage will be the sum of input voltages.
Yes. So during that time, everything will get cancelled and you'll have only V0 is equal to minus of V1 plus V2 plus V3. It is just going to add the input and give the inverted version of it. Okay. So based upon the given problem, you need to use. So you should know each and every steps. So for some problems, you have to use this formula. For some problems, you need to use this one. For some problem, you have to just use this one. Okay, this is the derivation for the inverting adder. So after this, we are having the non-inverting adder. It is quite big derivation compared to this, and you need to understand it properly. So we can do that in the next class.